Good evening, everyone. Yesterday, we ended our session in Malachi chapter 3, verse 2. Now, as we consider this chapter, I need to scroll back a little bit so that I could try to help keep all of us within the context of the passage. Now, it is very important whenever we study a text like this that the chapter headings and the verse numbering sometimes get in the way. And if you're not careful, even the chapter titles get in the way because they're added by the editor of whichever publishes it, including in your Bibles. And so, if you could, at all possible, just ignore the verse headings and the chapter numberings as well. We started off by mentioning that chapter 2, verse 17 was the beginning of this new section. And in every section in the book of Malachi, there is a question that God is trying to address. And this is the question: in what way have we tired him? Right? That is the question. And within that question, in verse 17, it is how the Levites or the priests have said, everyone who does evil is good in the eyes of God, and that God likes evil. Right? That's basically how the text is being read. And the next one is, where is the God of justice? It seems that God is missing. Now that's the question that God is trying to answer. And the answer itself comes in chapter 3. And so if we are not careful and we just go straight to chapter 3, then you realize that it seems to have started off on a journey by itself, but it needs to flow from chapter 2, verse 17. And yesterday we had said the Lord of hosts as being used in that framework, that my messenger, and this way is Malachi or Malachi. It's the same word as in chapter 1, verse 1. Is most likely to refer to an angel of God who will come and look at all this. He will prepare, and the messenger is Malach, all right, whom you delight. He is coming. And so these are words or pronouns that refer to the Malach. Now with Adon, this will refer to God himself, right? And this is his temple. And so the messenger is not just any messenger, it is a messenger of the covenant. So I'm trying to keep us in focus to the context. God is saying that you have tired me out. And they say, how have we tired you out? By saying all this, where is God? And so God is saying, behold, hine, look, I meaning it's God himself. I am going to send my messenger. He will prepare the way before me, right? Or this word here is towards my face. And with this, we should be able to be clear that Malach, at least from the context here, is the angel of the covenant who makes sure that the covenant of God is practiced, is kept, is guarded. All right. And yesterday we also said there were two words or covenants, right? In regards to chapter 2, the covenant of Levi and the covenant of Mount Sinai of the fathers. And so that would be how God is coming back to the priesthood to tell them that Where is God? God says, I'm coming. Watch out, I'm coming. Now, that was what we were talking about. And in chapter 3, verse 2, we were talking about his coming. That's the Malach, right? If you look further up, behold, his coming. He is coming. He's coming, and this will all be the Malach. Malach. I'm trying very hard to keep us within the context of the passage so that we do not run away by hugging on a couple of words. So God is speaking. Who can endure? And we saw that, right? The word endure means to refrain, to stop. Who can stop the coming? And then who can stand in judgment? When you can see him. And these verses, we talk about he's a refiner's fire, a launderer's soap, a refiner, a purifier of silver. He will purify the sons of Levi. All right. All these are words of purification and purge them as gold and silver. And these words here are important, and they all talk about the same thing: cleansing. And so the picture, or the imagery, as we can say in Hebrew, is about a refiner, and this is about precious metal. Things which are valuable, a launderer's soap of things that are dirty. And so there are two elements here, but both speaks about cleansing and purifying. In verse 3, he will sit as a refiner. Now, understand, all this is the Malach, right? He is coming, he will sit, he is like a refiner's fire, he appears. Let me use another color, right? All of these refer to the same person, right? Same person, which is the Malach, right? The Malach. And so look at this. He will sit as a refiner. No, he will melt the precious metal, and a purifier of silver. The word purifier of silver is to clean the silver. And so all these are metallurgy. Metallurgy in the sense that the only way to clean it is not a polish, but it's to melt it so that the impurities are removed from the metal. And so he will purify the sons of Levi. And that really means to make clean. To make clean, this purified. Now, sons of Levi, understand this, that the Levites have a covenant with God to serve in the tabernacle or the temple, and they are to be holy. But at this point in time, in the eyes of God, they are not considered holy anymore because they have violated the rules of God. And so God says, I don't want you. You serve me or you sacrifice to me blind animals, lame animals, sick animals. You don't care. That's chapter 1, 2, and now in chapter 3. And God says, I am going to take real action. I am going to refine you. Why would God say he will refine the Levites and not destroy the Levites? Now, very importantly, we need to understand the hierarchy of how God engages with Israel. We always have God in the past engaging with Moses, and with that to Aaron and to the people. So we have some form of a hierarchy. When you don't have Moses, we still have the priest, Aaron, the priest. Now, later on, we had kings, right? We had kings. But now we have no more kings, so nothing to talk about. The leaders of Israel or Judah right now will realistically be the priests. And God is not about to destroy the priesthood because the priesthood is holy. They are supposed to obey God and to fulfill the functions in the temple to represent God, to teach the Torah to the people, to make sure that the people guard the Torah and live by God's rules. And thereby, in this chapter, we see that all these things are falling apart. We saw yesterday how the Levites, the priests, went to marry non-Jewish women as their second wives. And thereby, God says, if you understand all this, you need to send them back because the priesthood needs to be holy. And the people within the family of the priest needs to bear sons of Elohim, meaning holy children who can continue the work of the priesthood. And here in chapter 3, God says, I will do this. You are saying, where is God? God is saying, I'm coming. And I'm here to cleanse and purify you because you are important to me. Because if the priesthood is not purified, then we have a problem in the temple with the offering. And so if they are purified, that they may offer to the Lord an offering in righteousness, that it will be right again. God says, I'm not going to accept your offering. Remember in chapters 1 and 2. And now God says, until you are refined, you're purified, and you've been put to the test, there is persecution. It's like fire, right? Putting you through the fire. And then you are clean again. And whatever you do, God will accept. And that is verse 3. Verse 4. Then the offering of Judah and Jerusalem. Notice Judah and Jerusalem is referring to the southern kingdom. And by the way, that is the only kingdom that's left standing at this point in time of Nehemiah, post-Nehemiah and Ezra. And once they are purified, then the present, the gift, right? The gift of Judah and Jerusalem will be pleasing to God. And he will be happy once again, like in the days of old, as in former years. And these are words that we need to break down. Days of Olam. Now, we've seen Olam before, and we always see this word translated as forever and eternity. But Olam just merely means a long, long time. In this context, Olam means a long, long time in the past. That the offering to God is going to be acceptable once again, just like the days of old. Like the days of David, like the days of Solomon. Again, as in the former years. The former years means the years of, I guess you could say the word here is Kadmon, the Eastern years. Right? Eastern years. Now, I'm just giving you the literal sense. So let me just again explain to you in terms of directions and time in the Hebrew culture. If this is the person, he will always face east. Now, in our current bearing, right, we always look north. But in terms of the Jews or the Israel, they always look east. That is the front. And east would mean the past, things that they have seen. So as in Eastern years, or the years of ancient days, right? The past would be ancient and former, but it's always in front of the person, and it is always called east, the eastern direction. And so the years of eastern or of the east, or the eastern years, represent ancient times. And thereby we have an A and a B again. And so God says, if you are purified priests, then whatever you do again is pleasing to my sight. Just like before, just like in the good old days of, say, David and Solomon. That's how verse 4 is represented. Now look at verse 5. And I will come near you for judgment, and I will be a swift witness against sorcerers, against adulterers, against perjurers, against those who exploit wage earners, widows, and orphans, against those who turn away an alien, because they do not fear me, says the Lord of hosts. That's a lot of words in verse 5. Now, if you're not careful, we may miss the point. Remember in chapter 2, verse 17, it says, where is God? Evil is good in the eyes of God. God is now looking at evil things and call it good. But that's not true. And when nothing happens in the society, people are asking, where is God? Because there is no judgment. And God is answering that question. How have you tired me? I will come near you for judgment, to give justice. So when you ask, where is God? God is saying, I am coming. I am coming. I will come to you again. Right? That's what it means. I will be a swift witness. The idea of witness here is to give evidence. Now, when God judges and provides justice, there's always evidence. You see, God doesn't judge just by whims and fancies. There's always a way to provide a judgment where it is absolutely just. And God is a just judge. But he is going to do it against who? Very quickly, against sorcerers. Those people who practice kashaf. And I think the English word alchemy comes to mind. Alchemy in the good old days, people who know a lot of chemistry are able to provide a lot of pyrotechnics. Fire will come out here and there, and smoke and mirrors and all kinds of things that will scare the people. And so magicians in the good old days are really people who are very good in science. So we're not talking about magician of David Copperfield, but these are magicians of the ancient days that captivates the imagination of the people and lead the people to do strange things, believing that they had superpowers. And so God says, I am going after you. I'm going to judge you, people who practices alchemy, against adulterers, people who commit adultery. Right? People who commit adultery. So God takes exception to these people. 1, 2, against perjurers. Now, what is perjurer? Perjurer means somebody who lie when in oath. Who lie when in oath. You can call it bear false witness. And you see this, I guess, in Exodus chapter 20, in the 10 Commandments. False witness to swearing. Right? These are perjurers, lying to a swear. Number 4, against those who exploit. Now, the word exploit actually means to oppress. People who, I guess you could use the word exploit. The reason is that these are people who extort, exploit, oppress. Oppress who? People, well, English says it is the wage earners. Basically, these are people who work for daily wages, right? Hired hands, hired wage people. Well, in modern days, you call it employees, right? Your staff. That you extort your staff instead of paying them fairly. You would find ways of deducting so that they will get bare minimum home. Now, God is against people like that. The next one here is widows. Widows means without a man, without her man, right? Orphans, the fatherless. So without father, without the man of the house, right? Without the man of the house. This would be 4, and then 5. Those who turn away an alien. Now, turn away in this sense is to push aside. Push aside. The word alien here, it has to be very careful. This is a ger. This Agar really is a friend of Israel. Some would call it a proselyte, or somebody who has embraced Israel as his own, right? And God says you must take care of them. And let me just basically explain this one more time. Why is God against all these 5 items? Because these 5 items are basically saying that this is justice. If you do all this, there is injustice. Hamas. And God says, I'm here to bring justice. Isn't it? This word here, to give justice, because all of these are called injustice. When you scare people to their wits and lead them to believe in you, you are a kashaf, somebody who practices alchemy to captivate the imagination and the fear of the people to listen to you instead of listening to God. And God has a problem with that. People who commit adultery, and God says it leads someone to believe in other gods, to follow other gods as well. That's also spiritual adultery. Perjurers, when you are in oath, you lie about it and say, no, I never said that. When you make a swear to God and you pretend nothing happened, God says that is a problem. That is injustice. You swear to take care of the poor and the needy, but when the time comes, you don't. To those who exploit, who oppress, who persecute, who make life difficult for their staff, their employees, people who need to earn a wage, people who have no one to defend them, the helpless, right? Widows are helpless in the society then because there is no man to stand up for her. So the widow is to be taken care of by others. The orphans have no fathers to protect them. Remember, Av, the father of the house, the father is to protect everyone in the house, but the orphans have no such person. These people, right? These people are the ones who oppress them. And God says, I am coming after you. Against those who do not take care of a ger. And a ger is important. We're not talking about strangers who worship other idols. We're talking about a friend of Israel, a friend of the 12 tribes or of Judah, who comes and believe in the same God. And you're not taking care of them just because they are not part of the 12 tribes of Israel. But they are to be taken care of. And God has made very clear that they are to be taken care of. And so God has a beef with these people. All right. And they are the priests as well, because they are the ones who judge. Why does God have a beef with these people? It's not that they are more powerful. They are powerful in the sense that God is now going to the root of the problem. They do not fear me. They are not afraid of me. And so when a person is not afraid of God, they will treat God as worthless so that they can offer a blind animal. They don't care what God had said as long as they go through the motions. They don't care how the people in the society is treated as long as they get their way. So God is saying, I need to come and purify you with fire and with soap, says the Lord of hosts. Now, verse 6 is an address of chapter 2, verse 17, where you say that evil is good in the eyes of God. And so God says, I am Jehovah. It says, Ani Jehovah. That's God is very serious. These are all very serious words. Ani Jehovah. God is making an emphasis. And he says here, I do not change. Now, the word change is, I guess, it's the word is shana, right? Shana. In fact, it means change, repeat, or duplicate. And so in the year, shana is also known as year. And so that means it's repeating or duplicating what there was in the past. But there is another word here, which I believe that would be the correct word to use, and that God doesn't change. He is not. So you go back, chapter 2, verse 17. You must always realize evil in the eyes of God is always evil. Good is always good. And God is absolutely angry with anyone who treats evil in the eyes of God as if it is good. And so how angry is God? Look at verse 6. I do not change. My laws do not change. But at the same time, the covenant of Levi does not change. because they are the holy ones to take care of the temple. I do not change. I'm not going to say, okay, Levites, I don't want you anymore. Let me find somebody else. And so therefore, you are not consumed, O sons of Jacob. They are part and parcel of a covenant, right? They are part and parcel of a covenant. They are not consumed. Well, this word consume needs a bit of explanation. They are, O sons of Jacob, things are not over yet. The judgments of God is not done. God will still deal. That's what it means here, right? It's not over yet. Yet from the days of your fathers, you have gone away from my ordinances and have not kept them. What does that mean? From the days of your fathers. The days of your fathers, which would mean the past, right? The past years, the past generations. And if you recall the history of the nation of Israel, Saul, David, Solomon, and then the split kingdom, the northern kingdom of Israel, the southern kingdom of Judah, and you find that invariably I suppose all of the northern kingdom has gone away from my ordinances. Well, gone away means turn aside. Turn aside from my ordinances, my statutes. Things which God has said you must do, but they have decided not to do them. And they have not kept them. They have not guarded them. When you don't guard them, the next generation will forget. And so God has a beef with them. You see, I am here and I do not tolerate this anymore. All the days of your fathers, you have gone away from my ordinances. And so we have the Assyrians. They have taken them away. Number two, the Babylonians have taken them away as well. But now you are back. You are back in the land. But you are still not, I guess, you've not changed. And God says, I expect everything that I said to Moses, given at Mount Sinai, to Aaron and the priesthood to his seed, to be maintained and kept. And so God says, return to me, and I will return to you. What does return to me mean? Return means shuv. Return to where it used to be, where it originally was. If you look at this statement, it says this, return to me and I will return to you, is 1 to 2. Means that you have to do 1 first and then 2 will happen. Now let me repeat myself. God is saying there is a condition for me to return to you if only you return to me first. God says, I have been with you, but I am not about to bless you and deal with you in the way of the past with David until you come back to me. Now, what do you mean return to me? Return to God literally means this. You have gone away. This is to God. They have gone away. So this gone away. And so the idea here, God says, return to me. And that is return. Return to do everything that God has said. The statutes, right? The statutes, the ordinances, the commands of God. That's what it means. Graphically, it's a very simple thing. When you have gone away, which God is saying, you have turned away, you have not kept them, so that's what has happened. And so return to me, and God will return to you. What does God return to you mean? God will come back and bless you and show you that he is God amongst you, and that the nations around them can see that God is well and alive amongst his people, that there will be rain in the time of harvest. All of these are demonstration of the existence of God. And God says, listen to me. This is what I, the Lord of hosts, said. Now notice another question here, but you said, in what way shall we shuv? Right? In what way shall we shuv? That's another question, a big question. How do we return to God? This is important. As far as we have done in this passage, I hope that we are clear that God expects Israel to deal with God the same way that God has communicated to Moses, to the people. Now, generations have come and gone. The days of your fathers have come and gone, and they have turned aside from God like this, turned aside, gone away. And they have not kept the ordinances or statutes of God. And so God says, return to me. That is return. Come back to the path of God. Come back to where God wants them to live. That's all God is saying. Return to the original state of the relationship. God took them out of Egypt, brought them to Mount Sinai, made them a holy nation, declared to them that I am the Lord your God, and I've given you all these commands. Keep them for the rest of the generations, because God is a jealous God. And God says, I do not change. Right? I still want everything that has been happening in the past to happen again. The priesthood shall be holy. The people shall be holy. The offerings and sacrifices shall be correct. The people shall fear God. And until then, God will bring judgment on them. So it's not over yet. Now, that's how the text is described here. I hope to communicate to everyone that the text or the emotions that's in the text itself is very graphic and very intense. That God is very, very concerned about the state of affairs in Judah right now. That they have completely forgot about God. Now, when you say forgot about God, doesn't mean that they didn't do the rituals. They treated the rituals as worthless, right? Simply do. Now, in our colloquial form terms, right, we say simply hantam. Basically, the priest is just going about doing the motions that they don't care. But in the eyes of God, remember, we have always stated this. God's house, God's rules. And God said this has not changed. So why did you change it? And they have changed it. And so God, in this whole time, is very angry with them. And so that's why I said that the emotions here is extremely, extremely serious. Okay? Now, I would like to stop here for today because the next one would take a bit long. And so we'll carry on tomorrow. And so we will end our session today right here.